Do you know what the CEOs of large organizations are thinking when they invest on AI? They're not thinking about, I'm going to choose that platform or that tool or the other one. They're thinking, what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years? And to explain the big schema of what is happening in the world with AI and what are the risks that CEOs has to consider, you need to understand the very simple four fundamental components of AI, right? AI has got a brain, your algorithm, think it like that. Then you have your hardware, at the moment dominated by NVIDIA, so large data centers. And then you have your data. The data is very important because the data that they use to train the models and also in the way that the algorithm is ring-fenced or guardrailed determines the output that you have, unless you do your own reg model in-house, which we recommend, but that's another story. So the data, very important. And then a problem that we didn't have until a couple of years ago, electricity. And electricity is becoming the more scarce resource that we have, not in the planet in general, but for AI specifically. Just to give you an idea, in the US, they are running out of electricity because of AI. I mean, Microsoft started a nuclear power station that had been shut down in the 70s for AI. Google is already powering AI with micro nuclear reactors. Amazon is investing in nuclear. The whole of Silicon Valley is investing in nuclear for a number of reasons, because it's more efficient and they have better ESG score, all these kind of things. But the thing is, there is a component of AI that you cannot have in-house. When we do implementation of AI industrially for organization, we use sometimes in-house algorithms and large language model for specific tasks, but for certain other kind of work, for example, if you have 10,000 people and they are all working with AI, the kind of data center that you need to implement simply is not feasible in certain countries.
Let me give you some context. To create a high availability setup, let's say for 10,000 people, for a large language model, you need 20 to 30 GPU server, each with 8 H100 GPUs for load balancing. A power supply between 400 and 600 kilowatts just for GPUs and cooling, and at least 1 terabyte per second networking capacity. So for 30 server, for 10,000 people, you're looking at between $7 and $9 million in hardware alone, excluding data center construction, power, cooling, maintenance, and technical stuff.
But it's getting safer and safer to getting it in your private cloud. So there isn't one rule that you either go in-house with AI or you go in the cloud, safe cloud, obviously. But there is a strategy where you can and should use both. It depends on the use case. The other important factor is who is investing more money into AI and is going to be in the future one of the main players. This is something that is public. Mid-2024, Microsoft, who was the major investor in OpenAI, ChatGPT, and OpenAI, they announced a project called the Stargate, where they were planning to invest $100 billion to power both ChatGPT and Copilot. That was announced, but nothing really happened. At the beginning of 2025, Donald Trump, US president, raised that amount to $500 billion, $500 billion. That is more than the GDP of a country like South Africa, just to give an idea. And the reason why he did that is because the US needs to win the battle against China and anybody else, obviously, with AI, because now is a strategic asset and a technology that they need to be leading on. So at the moment, the ChatGPT is the technology that is getting more investment and will have more investment than any other large language model. And the interesting fact is that Microsoft pulled out from there, or at least Microsoft is still in as a strategic partner together with Oracle and others, but the $500 billion is 100% dedicated only to ChatGPT. They broke ground recently in Texas for the first installation of this new data center, which is massive. There are thousands of people working, and that is 10% of the $500 billion that they are building.
I went recently to the first site that we're building out in Abilene. That'll be about, roughly 10% of all of the initial commitment to Stargate, the sort of 500 billion. It's incredible to see. Yeah. It is like, I knew in my head what a order gigawatt scale site looks like, But then to go see one being built, and the like thousands of people running around doing construction, and going to like, stand inside the rooms where the GPUs are getting installed and just like look at how complex the whole system is and the speed with which it's going is quite something. Standing inside of the first Stargate site, I was really just thinking about the global complexity that it took to get these racks of GPUs running.
Where is the energy going to come from? Money, I understand. Energy, to think of when we talk about the scale of the energy needed.
I think kind of everywhere.
Right.
I think it's a big mix right now. Eventually, I think I'm very excited about advanced nuclear, both fission and fusion. But for now, I think it's a whole mix of the entire portfolio.
Right.
Gas, solar, really nuclear, everything.
So in terms of thinking about where to invest, where more money will go to, this is one of the variables that I will definitely keep into account. I'm not going to say go with one or the other, but this is definitely an important variable. So back to the CEO's decision, the bottom line is when it comes to having a large language model in-house, there's a number of different variables that you need to consider, and there is more flexibility. But when it comes to choosing your big large language model in the cloud, even if it's private cloud, you must understand what's going on with the massive geopolitical forces happening in the world, because fortunately or unfortunately, it will influence all of us and the way that AI is going to work in our organizations.